And, we started through wholesaling to learn how we generated the profits. We were just committed to, for me, I was committed to, I would say owning my time.
Yeah.
That's really what was inspiring to me in the beginning. And owning rental properties and buying and holding became the pathway to owning my time 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the road.
Yeah.
And so we bought those 40 rental properties, and then that has, blossomed up to over 400 now that we own. And it's been doing the same thing over and over again. And then, a few years into the business, we realized that we could do these for other people. And so that became our core business, which is, again, buying, building, renting, doing all the property management, everything that a client needs to have a passive rental property portfolio.
And it's what you like to refer to as what your partners say, the boring business, which uh, it's boring, but like you said, it will generate enough momentum and profit that you can then put into other opportunities. And so maybe let's talk about, because I know it's not just you, right? In the photo here, when I was at your summit in Jacksonville a few weeks ago, we have a couple other partners. So maybe give them some credit, right? Because I know it's not just Gregg's brain that does what you guys do. Who else is behind the
Yeah.
scenes?
We have over 120 teammates here, full-time teammates here in our office at
Wow.
JWB. So it's a very different type of operation than what I would say a normal real estate company is, whether that's a real estate brokerage or if that's a real estate development company. They're usually either pretty small or not very centralized. But there's 120 people here in our building here, and it's all around building this passive experience and this wonderful experience in rental property. So I have three business partners who have been like brothers to me. We've been in this journey for over 20 years now, and then we have a core leadership team and a team overall here that's pretty dynamic and talented.
That's awesome. That's what you see there on stage, guys, on the bottom. Awesome. And here I actually got, to go on a tour like you mentioned. And what's cool, this is the building that they renovated. How long did it take for you guys to renovate this building in the photo? What was this like?
4 years and $17 million.
Oh man. And this is they literally didn't you like literally just finish enough like whatever needed to get done to host this summit, the most recent one there, right? I mean, it
You
was
know,
like right to the wire, right?
Oh yeah, nothing's better to motivate you than a deadline, especially when you have hundreds of your clients coming in town. And so we put that deadline out there and we got it done. But yeah, we finished and moved in around February 1st, and then we had at least 3 or 4 events that we hosted in the month of February. So we were still figuring out the kinks of moving into a new building, but it was a pretty fantastic summit.
Besides the fresh paint smell, I wouldn't know anything. I feel like you've been there for years. But that was inspiring, just being in that building downtown and then getting that tour that we'll go into in a moment as far as what that was about. But um, I'm not going to read, guys. This is just a disclosure, right? We are not financial advisors. We're not financial planners, but do your own due diligence. But JW Capital is someone that I personally have known for many years. Like we stated, we go way back, and I truly, truly respect their business model. So, um, but going back to the boring business, like I guess you have some business partners that would say, yeah, Gregg is the boring guy. What do they mean with the boring business here? Get Gregg.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I feel like, I've always really been attracted to single family rental properties. And when I look at it, it's because I'm a boring dude. And I think that single family rental properties are just they're a little bit boring. And if you ask me, I think if you ask most people in today's chaotic world, a little bit of boring is what we all probably need a little bit more of. When I say boring, I mean, you know what? They've worked for decades. Boring in the sense that we understand the value proposition. It's not this shiny new object that we have to like figure out this new technology, right? We need housing. People need a roof over their heads.
Yeah.
And the ways that you make money in single family rental properties, sometimes the boring part of it gets highlighted and the really, really exciting stuff is in the background working for you, but you might not realize it. And it tends to not have the light shown on it. So overall, I think people kind of miss the mark when they look at single family rental properties. I love them though. And I think a part of that is because number one, I've been investing in them for 20 years. So I see what a full market cycle looks like. Um, but I love them because of the control, the flexibility that happens, and then truly understanding the five ways that rental properties pay you. So, and then the fact that they're boring on the outside that's kind of who I am. So it's a perfect match.
Perfect match. And this is one of your properties, right? That I found on your website that
Hmm.
you guys basically built, right? From scratch.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. About 75% of all the properties that we sell are new construction. So we actually buy land, we build the home, and then we rent the home to a resident or a tenant. We call our renters residents because they stay with us a very long time. And then we sell the home to a homeowner to an investor. And we don't sell to institutions. We sell to everyday people, just like the folks on this call, right? We serve what we would call ourselves mom and pop investors and just help them build a portfolio of 3 or 5 or 10 rental properties over time.
Yeah, and it's what we would call in our industry, I guess, turnkey provider, right?
Hmm.
Where you have everything that's on a screen here now that you have the acquisitions, you have construction, leasing, sales, property management, accounting, all in one house where literally someone can come to you and like most of the people, I'm guessing that's how I buy these type of properties. I don't fly out to look at them, right? We look at a spreadsheet, we look at the photos, and then we buy, right? And is that most how most people end up buying through you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have a few conversations because we want to understand what the goals are for the client. But at the end of the day, all of the rental properties follow a certain model. And what clients are buying into is that model. And that model allows these properties to just work and almost to widgetize it in a sense. So
Yeah.
it's not like you're going to look at one property, you're going to say, oh, well, you know what, this is going to be so different than this one, and I'm going to choose this one over another one. They're all are roughly the same purchase prices. They all have the same type of debt. They all have the same type of rents. The vast majority are new construction. And then they all have the same management in place. So we can create this
Yeah.
boring, repeatable, successful process.
Which has now served over 11,000 homes rented, 317 million in profits generated. I mean, you got some big numbers here. I mean, that's a lot that you've done. It's impressive. And well, this kind of, fuels, I guess, the next step, the next transition, which, it was cool to hear your story and your perspective when I was there and listening to Alex and like how you guys would be like, hey, he would come to you and be like, hey, one day we're gonna build high rises, and you guys would look at him as your partner, like, you're crazy, man. Like, we're just doing our boring business here and we're fine. We don't need to be, what are you talking about? Right. And like hearing it from your guys' perspective, how that went by, and then you finally released him like this dog in a cage. I had this vision like Alex is in the cage, like because he's the firecracker out of the three partners, and
Sure.
he's the idea guy, and you guys released him. And what year did you release him to go hunt down some properties downtown?
Well, I think we released him long before then. He's our visionary, and his best place is thinking about what's going on be outside of the office, to be quite honest, because he's thinking about
Yeah.
what's coming next. But all of that transpired into a real passion for revitalizing our downtown somewhere around, I would say, the 2018, 2019 type year. And then in 2020, we started to go all in.
Yeah. And man, what a amazing. Like that, you guys, believed in him, right? He knew he had your support. And now I got to see where this is leading, which is so inspiring. And again, this is why I wanted to do this today with you, because being there in person really just obviously just hits different, right? And knowing you personally, I'm like, and knowing the fact that you didn't come from like Trump money, right? You didn't come from generational real estate wealth that just got passed on to Mr. Gregg, and Gregg just took over a downtown empire and thousands of rentals, right? This is from literally doing what most of us on this call do is we resource up, we get a mentor, we learn, we flip our first house, we realize we need to have cash flow. So we start buying rentals. You decided to do that also for other people besides owning, I think you said how many maybe 2,000 of your own rentals, right? In your portfolio, you guys own, if not more. I forget the number now.
Yeah, we own over 400 of our own rentals, and we manage over 5,700 single family rental
I
properties.
think I think Alex corrected you. You got to check with Alex, Greg. It might be more.
It probably is more.
Yeah, and but anyway, just it's cool to know like this is not someone that just things were handed over to him, right? That you guys are listening to. And now for him to be part of this exciting business as the boring business still keeps on going, right? Let's get into this because we I know we have about 10-ish, 15 minutes left to really talk about the downtown and what you guys are doing there and how does that connect the dots, right? For the investors that have invested with you guys into these rental units, if, including, of course, your own properties, right? Because you're doing this also for your own benefit. And the
Hmm.
organic reach is now also going to transform other investors that have invested with you. So what are we looking at
Yeah.
here? Talked about just
Yeah.
downtown in general.
Well, I'll kind of walk you through my mindset as far as me getting super excited and passionate about this. Knowing what you guys know about me as being a boring guy who likes single family rental properties and repeatable success and whatnot. The thought of revitalizing a downtown is it's a big deal. It's a big, hairy, audacious goal. And so it was a process for me to say, okay, why is this the right opportunity for us? Why is this the right opportunity for our clients? Why is this the right opportunity for our city? Why is this the right opportunity for the 9,000 residents that rent from us? And as we started to put the pieces of the puzzle together, we realized that it was a once in a generation type opportunity for us to make an impact across tens and hundreds of thousands of people. And once we started to look at it in that realm, I started to get excited. And then I started to think about if I just, and since we're here with the investor lens here, if I just think through the investor lens, I started to think about, the almost 6,000 properties that our clients own that we manage. And I started to look at what was the impact on other successful downtowns that had been revitalized and what happened to the rents and what happened to the prices and what happened to the median incomes in those other successful downtowns. And I started to think through and said, you know what? If Jacksonville is on the path that we believe it will be, and we already see what happened in other successful downtowns, this could be one of the best things we could ever do for our investor clients as far as generating better returns for them. And
Yeah.
so we started to go through it and look at all their successful downtowns. And you know what? Go back to that slide with 10,000 residents. Actually, you know what? This is a great slide right here. That
Yeah.
89% slide. So this was one of my first aha moments many years ago. I started to look and say, okay, well, let's look at the pricing. Well, what we found is that revitalized downtown cities have appreciated 89% more than the US average going back since 2005. And so we start to think of cities like Denver and Austin and Nashville and Tampa and some other successful ones. And they've almost doubled their appreciation over the US average. And so there's got to be something there. And then the next question was, well, if we know that revitalization means better things from an investor perspective, how do we know the next downtown that's about to be that next Nashville or that next success story? And we went to other successful downtowns. We asked those questions. And what we found is that there's leading indicators that are not that hard to find. And the information is publicly available. And so this is one of the best leading indicators to see if a downtown is about to jump off and about ready to become the next great American downtown. Well, once downtown residents population crossed a threshold of 10,000 residents, what you tend to see is home price appreciation growth skyrockets and rent price appreciation growth skyrockets, and same with median incomes. And the reason is because after you hit a certain threshold, and that threshold being 10,000 residents, developers start to rush into these downtowns. And when
Yeah.
developers start to rush into these downtowns, they start to be able to make money based on the resident population living downtown. And then they build and they build fast. And that's where you start to see skylines of downtowns change within a decade.
Like
Um,
Austin.
yeah. So here's a great example, Austin, Texas. 7,600 downtown residents was about the start of rapid growth in Austin. And so I've done a ton of research here. I've pulled all of the state of downtown reports from all of these successful downtown cities. I've gone to almost every single city that I'm going to share with you. Like I went to Austin last year. I asked the downtown guide. I went on one of the downtown tours. I asked them all the questions about it. But the long story or the short story here to a very long successful story is that growth in Austin changed with like a hockey stick type of growth trajectory. And you can see it in this image here where the entire downtown skyline changes in just about a decade. It takes a long time to build skyscrapers, but a lot of things start to happen when your city gets close to 10,000 residents and then crosses that threshold.
Nashville, same thing, right?
Same thing. Nashville is actually, if you go back to 2005, Nashville has had the most home price appreciation of any major metro in the United States in 2005. So if you could buy rental property, go back to 2005 and buy rental properties that were positively cash flowing, buying them surrounding downtown Nashville would have been the best place to do it. You would have had the best return on investment. And the same thing happens. You look at the skyline, it changes dramatically. And these two pictures are less than a decade. Completely different. I just went to downtown Nashville not too long ago with my wife. We went there for a stop during our anniversary trip last year, and it was so fun. But it wasn't always that way in downtown Nashville. And I learned that by going there and talking to folks. But when it changes, it happens very quickly.
And now here we are. Jacksonville is next, and you happen to be there with your business. So where are we at now in Jacksonville?
So, and the cool thing is that, as you saw, Randy, Jacksonville is in the stages of revitalization. It is not Nashville. It is not Austin. It is not the success story yet. But where we know the best place to invest is before you hit that 10,000 resident threshold. And the cool thing for Jacksonville is that our population has almost doubled in the last 10 years, and we haven't reached that pinnacle where we have all of this downtown, all of these amenities that are driving downtown growth yet. It's still the best is yet to come. But we do have about 9,000 residents this year, and we are going to cross the 10,000 resident threshold, and we're likely to cross it in 2026 by the time the next Downtown Vision report comes out. And it'll likely be in one of our downtown projects, which we're super excited about.
Yeah, and if you guys, well, I'll share this when we show another slide. But I mean, I was there, so I can obviously see the momentum, and it's no longer just a vision; it's now a reality, which is cool. So there is no stopping at this point. But these guys are in it at the perfect time, but they're putting up a lot of money, not between them and they raised a lot of money because it's not like on the beginning you see any returns, right? It's a huge investment for hopefully a huge future payout, right? I mean, right? And
Yes.
what do you share?
Yeah, I can elaborate if you'd like.
But it's not just you guys, right? So there's 6.5 billion right now in development happening, right? In downtown, right? Speak a
That's
little bit
right.
about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to think about revitalizing a major metropolitan downtown, there's never just one player. You need multiple things working in unison. You need the public and private partnerships coming together, and you need kind of like different parts of your downtown activating at the same time and kind of activating the entire downtown. So, our development, which we'll get into in just a few minutes here, is one of three major developments that are happening in downtown Jacksonville. But it's a lot more than just those major developments. This is a good slide to look at. This is our downtown here, which is the St. Johns River goes right through our downtown, and all of these beautiful amenities, natural amenities that we have. But all of these different projects, and they're labeled whether they've completed construction or under construction or just starting. There's a lot of activity, and so when you have the big guys coming in and doing these major projects, it enables and incentivizes the smaller or medium-sized developer coming in to put in a new restaurant or to revitalize and bring a new bar or whatever it may be. And so we're starting to see that happen, and to the tune of $6.5 billion of development right now in Jacksonville, which is the highest number of development dollars I've found in any major metro. And I've looked very, very hard through all their downtown reports. It's happening the most in Jacksonville right now.
And what's cool, guys, is that they recruited the same people involved in developing downtown Tampa. This is something that Greg and I talked about last year in May when we were actually at another conference in person. And then that was a cool story in itself that you guys pulled all these people together, all the smart engineers, architects, all these people that understood the whole development aspect of a downtown and brought them over, literally recruited them to Jacksonville. And now they're basically working for you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. The story, the way that we moved forward with our goal here of helping revitalize downtown Jacksonville is through this Pearl Square development. Pearl Square is a neighborhood that we're building inside downtown Jacksonville. It's a neighborhood that there really wasn't much going on. It's right next to City Hall, and there really wasn't much going on for decades. But we looked at this and looked at this canvas, and we said, you know what? If we can acquire a lot of land and we can raise the money, and then we can bring in the talent who has just done this successfully in a place like Tampa, well, now we can really make an impact. And so that's what Pearl Square is. It's one of the largest urban core revitalization projects ever in the United States. And we broke ground in 2024 on our first building. Since then, we have broken ground on our second building in May of 2025. And we have had a lot of wins. One of the biggest wins was we just recently signed a lease with Publix, which for any of you who are in the Southeast, you probably know the Publix grocery store premium brand that it is. It's one of the premier grocery stores here. And so now we have a Publix that is going to be leasing space in Pearl Square in one of the buildings that we'll be building here. We signed that lease in September of last year, and then that project will be built out in 2027 and 2028. But the entire project is a $2 billion development. There will be over 1,250 residential units, over 200,000 square feet of retail. It spans 25 city blocks. And, when I mentioned for me personally to get behind this many, many years ago, I needed to understand the big win. When you start to think about the financial impact of a project like this, it's been estimated over $750 million a year of a financial impact coming back to our city in terms of jobs and median incomes coming back from this job or from this development. So we're super proud, super excited, not just because of what we get to be a part of, but because of the kind of engine that it creates and the excitement that it creates and the ability for other developers to say yes because somebody was a pioneer, and so we're super pumped about it.
I will release you in a couple minutes, and then I'll share some of the other things you guys shared as far as how you guys even got involved in the whole development and how, all the things I learned. Because I want to respect your time. I know you want to pick up your kids. So we'll go through the last few things so we can actually show them what you guys are building, the before
Sure.
and afters. And then I'll stay on with you guys because Greg's got to run in a few minutes. But this is a site that I walked personally with them a couple of weeks ago and a bunch of probably 100 other investors. So tell us about what we're looking at here, and then this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you got to see the up to date version of what it looks like. This was before it was a vacant city block parking lot behind that. Now we are really close to finishing the first building there. So that first building has about 200 residential units behind it. It's
This one,
scheduled to
right?
be, yeah, exactly. It'll
Yeah.
be completed in a couple of months. It'll be leased out, and it'll be our first building being completed that we're super excited about. It has about 20,000 square feet of retail on the bottom. So we're very big into building urban, walkable places where people want to be. And because we have the breadth of 25 city blocks to do this, we can place make. We can create walkable urban environments that have lots of green space, and you can mix the residential with the retail. And you can do fun things like just have a courtyard to be able to, have a wonderful place for people to interact. That, most developers, when they go into a project, they buy one city block. If you buy one city block and go to develop that one city block, you just financially cannot make the decisions to have a significant part of that city block just be a fountain and
Yeah.
walking space because the numbers will never pencil. But this is the type of impact we get to have for our city, where we can do this over 25 city blocks. Our community wins. And then you can imagine that the rents that are going to be here are going to be great rents, so that other developers can come in and say, you know what, it's worth me to develop that next building right next to it. Um,
Yeah.
and and then what happens is more jobs come, because more employers see what's going on in downtown Jacksonville, and they want that type of talent. And so this flywheel is created. So that's really, if I get back to just me personally, when I started to realize this about 10 years ago, that's what got me really excited, because everybody can win here.
And I'll share with you guys how they got to the 25 city. Because if you're thinking, how the heck do you buy 25 city blocks and close to each other? I'll share that story with you guys when Gregg leaves.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not going to be exact, but I know the general idea. I talked to Alex about it in some detail. It's so cool. And it's like it's literally could happen to anybody if that's the mission you're on, right? If you just really focus on the mission that you guys had. So these are all the developments that you guys are part of Pearl, right? All these city blocks right here.
Yeah, this is the before picture of what Pearl Square's neighborhood looked like prior to us, and then yes, you'll see the after picture, which is what it's going to look like. And this is happening right now. All of this will be completed by 2028, and so super exciting. And like I mentioned, other people and other employers notice when like Publix signs a lease downtown. Well, other really great things happen, other retailers. And that's how we've been able to get such strong retail support, people to say yes to be a retailer in that 20,000 square feet of the first building that we're done. It's because they say, oh, you know what? Public said yes. Okay, cool. I know we're going to have significant foot traffic. Now, the coffee shop or the Pilates studio or whatnot is, they're on board.
Yeah. Yeah, it's mind blowing. And it's, again, I mean, I'm sure you're still pinching yourself, right? I can't imagine not to be like, wow, I'm literally building sky rises and developing downtown. Like that thought probably never crossed your mind when you were buying your first flip, right? Wholesaling your first contract to make 5K. It's like
It
it's
never did.
awesome. It
It
is
never did.
absolutely amazing. So I really honor what you guys are doing and just the partnership that you guys have together there and the people and how you serve them and take care of your staff. Because I know that's none of it will be possible with great people around you, right? And also great leaders. And just your understanding of the impact of what a downtown will do to not only your real estate, but all the real estate around that your investors own and other people own. So it sounds like it's that the sweet spot is 10 miles, right? Is where you
Yeah. That's where we see, if you look, especially over the multifamily industry, it's been studied a lot. When there's a successful downtown or a premium grocer that goes in, you start to see rents and median incomes going up. And so on the single family side, that is our strategy as well. All of our investments that we sell are single family homes. But you can see we've been investing in downtown Jacksonville for 20 years, or right around downtown Jacksonville, let's call it, within 10 miles. So our investors are poised to really benefit from this. And the cool thing is that, if we go back to the boring mindset, right? The model that people are buying into is boring, repeatable, successful. It's a
yeah.
cash flowing rental property, but you can get the indirect benefit of buying next to the next great American downtown, which is just going to amplify those returns that are otherwise just kind of boring and repeatable.
Cool. So these are your, last few words you could share. It's more about like people, waiting to make different decisions on where to invest. What would you speak to that type of audience, right? And it's not just Jacksonville. I know that's where you guys are at, but really for them to think differently about their investing decisions, right?
Mhm.
When they're looking to buy cash flow type properties or buy and hold. Um, what would you share
Yeah.
with those folks, I guess?
I think people don't spend enough time thinking about the team and the operator and the market when it comes
Mm,
to their investment. And if there's one thing that I would just leave with the group here is, maybe Jacksonville is your cup of tea, maybe JWB is. Either way, when you're thinking about buying a rental property, the way you win is to buy and hold. And the way you win with buy and hold is to make sure you have the right team and right operator. So that needs to be your first due diligence item. Make sure you have somebody that's worthy of managing your money for 10 years or longer. Once you have the right team and the right operator, you need to make sure that you know about the market, and you need to think beyond just your backyard, because many times your backyard might not be the best market for you to be able to earn a return on investment in rental properties. People don't really understand how repeatable home price appreciation is in markets. And there are some markets that are just positioned to grow because people are moving there versus other markets where population is declining. And it's going to be hard for those markets to have significant growth. So understand team operator first, then understand your market. You may have
Yeah.
something similar to what's going on in downtown Jacksonville that I love so much in your market, but that's on you. You got to find that, right? And if you find the right team and operator and you know enough about your market and you see where you are positioned to grow in that market and your investments are going to grow in that market, then the last part of the equation is finding the right property or the right asset. So I would spend the vast majority of your time understanding team and operator first. They will lead you
Yeah.
to the right market most of the time, and then choosing the right asset would be just should be simple, easy, enjoyable, and relatively quick.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go. I did put in a Google form, so if anybody's interested in talking to him and his team and get involved in what they're doing, you're more than welcome. And one of his team members will reach out to you. But Greg, I'm gonna let you go. I know you got to pick up your kids.
Cool.
We're already, a few minutes late for you. So thanks so much, Greg. Thanks again for inviting me to, visit you guys, and truly inspirational. And I can't wait to come back and see as the downtown develops over the next couple of years, man.
That's awesome, man. It's really great to connect, man. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to be here with the group. I'm sorry I don't have much more time today, guys, but I hope to meet all of
Yeah.
you soon. Maybe we'll get you down here for next year's summit. But yeah, looking forward to being more and more a part of
Oh
your group
yeah.
in the future, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. I can send that too, an invite to them if you want.
Cool.
Awesome, man.
Cool.
Thanks, Greg. I'll
All right,
stick
guys.
around. I'll tell you guys some of the behind the scenes things I learned. So later, Greg.
See you
But
guys.
but what I wanted to share, it's like, so we didn't have the time to unpack it with him, but man, um, so I know them personally for many years now, and especially also his partner Alex, and he's like the firecracker, right? As I said, so we go back all the way to 2010 days we've met, and I could tell like that dude just cannot stay still. Like he's constantly looking for the new thing, right? He's the visionary, and but this didn't happen overnight. This took years in the making. So what he started doing first, guys, right, as they were running their boring business, right, and uh, many of us have those. I know, like Alicia, you have a boring business. I know what that is, right? Uh, we keep thinking like, okay, how do we build wealth? How do we build wealth? Well, they chose to do, holding assets, holding assets, holding assets, holding assets, then doing it for other people, right? And that started creating residual income, residual income, residual income. Equity grew. So but in the meantime, Alex started going and visiting all these different cities that we mentioned in the conversation today. And he started studying, like, how did he get to this place? Because it didn't start that way. So he started studying the history of these cities like Austin and Nashville, and he found these common denominators like, huh. So then he came back with all this knowledge from that tour, let's call it, and he decided to start a meetup on his own. He's like, let's see if I can find some other people that are as crazy as me that want to revitalize downtown. And he found a few people that were like, yeah, this is cool. Let's do it. And they started just meeting, a few of them, a handful of them, about what, talking and dreaming and talking about like, what would this look like? And how can we make this happen? Right. And these were like other small operators of real estate, right? And not these big shots. And then you started making connections with the big developers that could make things happen if they got enough backing behind them. So then they started going to downtown meetings and political meetings and council meetings. Like they started getting to know the mayors. And literally, this was like over years, like if you think about it, how it all started. To the point where then you ask yourself, well, how the heck do they buy just properties downtown? Well, they started with one property they were able to lock up by just approaching the seller directly. And then later they bought another property few like basically, buildings over. So they started making some connections on that one street. But the big breakthrough happened, guys, when it was during COVID. This church, the Baptist church in downtown, owns a ton of real estate, a ton. They were marketing some of their properties to sell because they wanted to sell some of their properties to renovate their main church in downtown. They were running out of money. But then COVID came. They took those properties off the market, right? Well, Alex reached out directly to the owners of the church and said, "Hey, by the way, we realized you had these on the market, but then you took them off. Are you still interested in selling?" So he went directly to the seller, right? Build a relationship. The church was in, it was like perfect timing because they were confused. What the heck is going to happen in the world, right? They were like, everything is shut down. And here is Alex talking to them about putting a sale together, and they were excited to work with him. They agreed to sell them, sell him one or two properties. And he just asked a simple question, which is something we talk about, in the single family space when you're buying flips, working with realtors. He asked this question like, "Hey, is there any other property you might be interested in selling that you own?" That was it. And they were like, "Well, actually, this parking garage across the street, we're okay. We don't really need it." So then they locked up a parking garage. And then so they literally bought a bunch of properties, bunch of land, some with vacant, some with buildings, all from this church. And that's how they started basically owning blocks, literally. And then they kept approaching other sellers next to the properties they either are buying or were buying or own. And that gets easier when they leverage what you're owning with the seller next door. Like, "Hey, by the way, we are buying this or we own this. Are you interested in selling?" And now they have credibility, right? And they have momentum. And then next thing you know, they own so much land downtown, which is remarkable. But that's how it started. It was literally just conversation and timing and going directly to the seller, and also having in the meantime a mastermind of people that are willing and wanting to do the same thing and get involved financially, because a lot of the people that he started the mastermind with ended up being investors in these projects, right? And now, they have a lot of people that want to invest with them for the development part, right? But it's a long-term play, right? And anyway, it's just to see this in person was so inspirational. I was like, this is crazy that I actually happen to know you, and now you're building downtown, and I know where you started, right? And just to think about that, it was, it's hard to wrap your head around, because these are I was telling Greg, you're gonna have like movies about you and stories about you guys, decades from now, that your kids and grandkids are gonna read about their uncle and dad that built downtown. Like, think about this. Like, this is what they're doing. And he's a young dude that started like many of us with one flip. But anyway, I'll open it up for questions, but it was just a awesome time I had there, and I wanted to bring him on to to you guys and everybody that tunes in, because it's such an incredible, like, true American story of someone that comes from nothing, has no background in real estate, to now literally revitalizing downtown. So I guarantee you now you're going to look at Jacksonville much different. If you're there, if you're going to drive through there, you'll be like, "Huh, I think I know these guys who are building this." And you do. It's JWB, Pearl, and the fountain that they had in that image, in one of the areas they're redeveloping, looks exactly like the one in Tampa, like downtown. It's like they are literally taking the blueprint that worked. They're not reinventing the wheel. They're taking a blueprint from a downtown somewhere else. It's like doing literally what I used to do in flipping homes. I would take a blueprint that works with the scope of work that worked, and I would bring it to the next single family home, and we would do the same exact scope, same exact color scheme. They're doing that in downtown aspect, where they were like, "Take this blueprint, let's apply it here," right? Because it worked here, worked there, it's going to work here, right? And I recognize the fountain. We have that literally in Tampa, in this one area. So hope you're inspired by this and had some kind of aha moments for your own business and where you can go and maybe have a bigger vision more than anything, because I know I do, for sure.